Chris Auchenball.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm always interested at the contrast between select committee work and speeches in the House. Often you wonder where the marriage is between the two events. Because what we're talking about, Mr. Speaker, is something that is extremely important to all of us in this House. It's the rebuilding of Christchurch. And I'm sure that's just as important to people in any position in the House. It's the most important thing we can do, because we're not just rebuilding the body of Christchurch, as we were told yesterday by some of the submitters. It's also the mind, the heart and the spirit of the Canterbury people. And it was a moving occasion to be part of the select committee, it was a parliamentary committee that was established to hear evidence that was given. It reaches across the South Island to have an effect in the West Coast. It reaches down to have an effect in Southland, Otago, up in Marlborough, everywhere. Christchurch, our second largest city, is in desperate need of assistance. The spirit of the people, though, is strong, very strong. When the second earthquake occurred, I remember getting calls from overseas, wanted to know what was going on, and some interviewers from the UK said, "We understand it was chaos." So I said, "Well, it was a big shake, about 45 seconds. And they said, "How long did the chaos last?" So I said, "Well, about 45 seconds. And they said, No, but what about the chaos in the city?" So I said, "Well, New Zealand doesn't do chaos very well. They're not very good at chaos. They get organised quickly." And just spending an hour in Christchurch yesterday, visiting the places that have been really badly affected, one can see the organisation, the spirit, the strength of the community coming through. And then we had the opportunity to meet people who wish to give us evidence and contribute to the bill. Collaboration is very important. And there has been criticism, and I acknowledge the criticism, that the timelines were tight. We've just heard a fairly spirited and political speech from Mr. Cosgrove, who was a member of the committee, and I'd like to thank all members of the committee for the way they applied themselves. We were relatively free of partisan comment and activity. I think everybody applied themselves heavily to the task, and I thank the members on all sides of the House for the way they did their work. The evidence we received was of, I think, an agreed, remarkably high quality. And I think this is one of the crucial points that needs to be considered in this whole business. Delay does not equate to quality of product. And so the suggestion that we should have had longer, we should have had a further week, and all that sort of thing, I don't think would have altered the strength of the submissions we received very much at all, because the quality was high. The quality was high, and that was agreed. It was a short, tight timetable. The committee worked well to meet the requirements of that. The evidence was strong, and it's, I understand, already being included into possible changes to the bill. We heard from people in Wellington, we heard from people in Christchurch. They had a singular quality that came through all the time: sincerity of approach. They were most sincere that they wanted to do the best they can. And even amidst the rhetoric that we heard from a very experienced speaker, that message still came through. We all want to do the best we can. For me, I think it's very important that we concentrate on that, because this is not just the main government priority. I would suggest it's a main parliamentary priority for this year. We have seen the consequences when we did the reform of the Resource Management Act last year. We've seen some of the difficulties, the delays that can occur with legislation which has passed its use-by date. We have seen how normal features of legislation can be disruptive and delaying in making the changes and the decisions that are having to be made to get Christchurch on the move. We see the contrast too. And I would have to say, while I've never met the gentleman, I hold him in very, very high regard, and that's Roger Sutton, the CEO of Orion. That's the man who got the power back on. He used phrases such as, "It ain't pretty, but it works." Overhead cables instead of underground. I would not suggest at all that he manipulated any permit arrangements or anything, but fast-tracking certainly got the work done. And this bill is designed to use the Roger Sutton approach to getting things done, which is so much a New Zealand concept that it needs the opportunity to be expressed within the community in Christchurch. Because we have to enable community participation in planning the recovery of affected communities without impeding in a focused, timely and expedited recovery. I had an enjoyable time in brief conversations with people who came to the committee not just to make submissions, but to wish us well with the work we were doing, to thank us for coming and to to express their concentrated appreciation of what is happening. Christchurch is strong. Christchurch is well. Christchurch needs the assistance of this bill. Mr. Speaker, I would appeal to members on all sides of the House to perhaps suppress the understandable rhetoric they feel, because it's a very personal thing, it's a very emotional thing for the people who have representation down there. But let's concentrate on the real need. Let's concentrate on Christchurch's need. Let's concentrate on getting this bill in place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.